We have another massive issue that is happening right now in the United States, and other countries are telling us it is our problem. I want to address what's going on right now because there is a very high chance that we are going to see violent criminals stay in the United States. These are illegal immigrants who are coming into the U.S., creating crimes and inciting violence. And yet their countries are saying that, no, we do not want them back. It is your problem now. I want to address what's going on at this time, what the law enforcement officials are now telling us, what border agents are saying, and what the National Guard is very concerned with. So make sure you stick around for this entire video, and I'll explain exactly what is going on. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So if you've been following me here on this channel for a little bit of time, you know that I've talked about one violent gang coming from Venezuela. They're called Tren de Aragua. I want to show you this article right here. This is from the New York Post. It says National Guard urged to check migrants arriving in New York City for Tren de Aragua tattoos as gangs number grow stateside. What we are seeing right now is that the amount of people that are in gangs coming into the United States continues to go up. The concern, though, is we are not sending these people back to their home countries. In some cases, the country is telling us no. They are not going to agree to accept people that have come from the United States, okay, and are now being deported into their country. Venezuela is one of those countries. And I'll explain what the Venezuelan president just said recently. But look at this. ICE captures 2 suspected Venezuelan gang members in connection with the New York Police Department assault. It says Tren de Aragua began as a Venezuelan prison gang and has expanded into multiple countries, including the U.S. The problem that we're facing right now is that there is really nobody that's pushing people back, sending them back to their home countries. Now, the Biden administration is supposed to. This is one of the reasons why many lawmakers are urging the Biden administration to do something, because as of right now, they're just not doing enough. But I want to show you this one as well. It says members of the feared Venezuela gang Tren de Aragua are in Chicago, according to authorities. Here's the issue. Chicago, New York, Miami, there's some in Pennsylvania as well. They are now starting to go to larger cities. The one reason why is because they are trying to establish themselves. Now, here's the concern. This is still early. This is early on in this establishment process, but the concern is that they're already getting some type of traction. They're already being able to create teams and gangs in certain cities. And now, the issue, and this is the big concern, is this one. The FBI is fearing that Venezuelans' migrant gang members could actually team up, potentially, with MS-13. That is a huge concern. Now, what's the Biden administration going to do about it? Well, that's what we're going to find out. We're going to find this out very soon. But here's the big concern. Previously, the Biden administration says that if, and many Democrats agree, that if you commit a crime, if you are considered violent, if you are somebody that is not an ideal citizen to the United States, we are going to deport you. Well, here's the thing. Many lawmakers are saying, well, how can we continue to deport all these illegal immigrants at the same time it's costing us more money to do so? Wouldn't it make more sense to just shut the U.S. southern border down? The answer is yes. But the Biden administration doesn't want to do that. They want to continue to spend money, allow people in, but spend money and send those back that shouldn't be here, as opposed to just confronting them at the U.S. southern border and telling them, no, you cannot enter. But here's the reason why everyone is concerned, because Venezuela is actually saying that they don't agree with what the Biden administration is doing. Look at this. It says Venezuela reportedly scraps the U.S. deal to deport illegal migrants as some commit crimes to be deported. It says President Nicolas Maduro is refusing to cooperate with deportation requests after Washington reimposed economic sanctions on Venezuela it had previously lifted. Now, this article is from yesterday. The reason why I'm showing you this is simple. Venezuela does not want to work with the United States because the United States has just reimposed sanctions that they previously lifted. Okay? The United States can do this. We can reimpose sanctions and do all that if we want to. The concern, though, is Venezuela is not going to take these potentially violent people back. And so now we are stuck with these people in the United States. I want to read you a little bit about what's going on, though. It says the deal saw the U.S. send around 1,800 Venezuelans on 15 flights, but the agreement was stalled last month and it has now been stopped. Okay? I want to keep reading. It says, last month, Washington ordered a wind down of all business transactions between U.S. entities and Venezuela's state minor, Minerven, and said it would unwind its easing of energy sanctions if Maduro's administration did not stick to the agreement and accept conditions for a fair presidential election. That's pretty much what it's all about. Are we going to have a fair presidential election coming up? If not, the United States does not want to work with Venezuela. But at the same time, Venezuela is not going to accept all these potential violent criminals back into their country and is going to tell the United States that no, you cannot deport anybody to us, back to our country. Now, here's where things get very interesting. Venezuela is just one country. What about all the other countries? Now, the United States doesn't have sanctions on every single country, but what if some of these countries, some of these presidents decide, you know what, we are better off without those thousands and thousands of people. We are better off without those hundreds of potentially violent criminals. We're better off without them. Well, what does that mean for the United States? Do we then go lock them up and just put them in prison? Right? Is that what we do? Do we try to deport them? Do we send them down to Mexico in hopes that Mexico can then go and push them back to their home countries? Well, here's the issue. Whatever we decide to do, if countries stand together, pretty much band together, and say, you know what, we are not going to accept any deportations from the United States. And if they do that, here's the problem. The United States is likely going to have to entice them to accept this, to agree, which means we're going to have to pay a little bit more money. Or do we just pay more money to Mexico? Let Mexico deal with this problem. Well, that's what's currently up for debate. But here's the issue right now. According to many travel experts, they are telling people here in the United States that if you are planning to travel for spring break, which is coming up in about a month, well, here's the problem. Don't go to Mexico. They say there's violent gangs. There's the cartels. They're now looking after American tourists. That's a problem. So if Mexico's even considering this, which we don't know if they're considering it, but there are discussions of this, is how do we get rid of all these potentially violent criminals? What do we do? Do we keep them here in the U.S.? Do we send them down to Mexico? Or do we attempt to deport them back to their home country? Because if some of these home countries don't accept them, well, what options do we have? All I can tell you right now is the Biden administration doesn't have a lot of options, but the one option that they do have, well, just keeping them out of the United States, locking down the U.S. southern border, doesn't sound like they're even considering that at this time. So we'll see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you is I will be here every step of the way. I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.